The Master Chief is dead.
This file reads, missing in action.
Catherine. Spartans never die.
We were told we had finished the fight, but as Master Chief and Cortana drifted listlessly in space year after year, we knew that it was only a matter of time until a Spartan and his chatty AI were called back into duty. With Bungie taking a permanent leave of absence to pursue new frontiers, Microsoft took a DIY approach and formed 343 Industries, with the sole purpose of ensuring the battle for human survival would not be abandoned. Can a rookie developer uphold the lofty standards of one of the industry's most revered franchises?
Dr. Halsey, you're bending history for your own favor, and you know it.
When my Spartans were all that stood between humanity and extinction, nobody was concerned about why they were originally built.
It's been 4 years since the Chief turned on a distress signal and took a long overdue and extended nap. Hoping the UNSC would stumble upon his ship as it careened uncontrollably through the unfathomable expanse of space, he's ripped from his slumber by Cortana when it appears that someone, or something, is attempting to board the craft. But it's no welcoming party, and the pair quickly realizes that they're hovering above a large planet called Requiem. Thinking that they may have found a ticket back to Earth, and with Cortana facing a degenerating condition, the pair head to the surface to find a new threat to humanity has been released upon the galaxy.
So, now can we worry about the giant metal planet?
Yes, there's a brand new race called the Prometheans that stand in their way, and a bad guy that seems out of Chief's league. But deep down, this is really a tale about a man's relationship with machines, and more specifically, his relationship with Cortana. In Halo 4, the Spartan is exposed as a human underneath all the armor, a lonely man who's more successful at a relationship with a computer program than those with his own kind. Resolve is galvanized and heartstrings are tugged along the way, making it easily the headiest yarn the series has yet spun.
Before this is all over, promise me you'll figure out which one of us is the machine.
I thought you'd be taller.
If you look for a lot of meat in your games, Halo 4 will not disappoint. The campaign is still a bit on the brief side, coming in at under 10 hours, but there's so much to experience beyond that. The episodic Spartan Ops allows up to 4 players to shoot through a handful of currently available missions that are bookended by cinemas to give some context to the conflict. While the story here is a little flimsy, the action is anything but. The challenge scales well based upon the number of players, and the tools in the Halo box work perfectly within the team-based framework. More episodes will be released over time, giving the mode legs beyond the disc. It's a valuable, entertaining addition.
Could it be a rescue team?
Wouldn't bet on it.
Competitive multiplayer for up to 16 players is really where the franchise has earned its keep in the past, and that certainly doesn't change here. With a massive suite of modes and customization options, you get all the standbys like Slayer, Team Slayer, Capture the Flag, Domination, and Oddball. There are also some interesting variants like Flood, where one side takes control of the vile creatures and tries to infect the competing team. If you want a specific kind of battle, you can always go into custom games and tweak things to your heart's content, or better yet, go into the user-friendly Forge and build your own game types, or tweak existing maps to fit your agenda. If you're looking for new ways to tinker within the Halo universe, you'll certainly find it here.
What are you after?
Halo's multiplayer has always been popular because of its simplicity, but its leveling system has lacked significant incentive. This time the series is in line with other modern shooters, in that you unlock things as you progress that you can use to kit out your Spartan. Guns, armor, perks, and much more become available as you progress, but the carrot dangles a little too far out of reach at times. You'll have to reach level 12 just to have the full accoutrement of abilities, and taking on other players who have already reached that zenith can be frustrating. We recommend playing through the XP-friendly Spartan Ops to soften the blow a bit, since the leveling system is unified across both options.
What does John have to do with this?
While it can be argued that most modern players have already wrapped their heads around these concepts, they do deplete a bit from the franchise's multiplayer identity. There are very few throwaway perks among its ranks, and thankfully the weapons are among the first items to unlock, but we're not convinced that Halo needs to be like every other game in this regard to be successful.
I rewrote your firmware while you were out.
You've been busy.
There's a lot of latitude in how you kit out your soldiers. You'll select a primary and secondary weapon, grenades, one of 8 different and interesting armor abilities, and 2 different sets of perks dubbed tactical packages and support upgrades. There are also brand new vehicles to commandeer, in addition to the usual ghosts, banshees, and warthogs, including a bipedal walker called the Mantis that's capable of turning the tide of any battle. You'll also get new alien weaponry that's a blast to use, including a new grenade type that creates a kind of energy vacuum to dole out maximum punishment.
Where the hell did those things come from?
While the multiplayer has taken steps towards the center, the campaign mission structure sadly has not. There's not much variety in what you're doing from one hour to the next. Your primary objective is almost always to fight to a switch, flip it, and then watch a cinema that moves the story forward. Tight corridors give way to wide open spaces, but the game is often more difficult if you stray from the order it assumes you'll address each group of enemies, encouraging trial and error to find the one way it wants you to proceed.
Humanity is no longer on the defense. We are the giants now.
How many ships made it through the roof?
Plenty. Why?
We still need a ride home.
Halo is responsible for a lot of the tenets that just about all shooters utilize today, and it doesn't stray from its heritage. The rebounding health meter returns along with the ability to carry just 2 guns at a time. Ammo can be scarce in the campaign, and so scavenging fallen enemies is a must. You'll often find yourself backtracking through a level hoping to find a discarded armament so you can return to the front line and continue the fight.
You know, I think you, of all people, would appreciate the benefit of living to fight another day.
Whether you're playing online or off, enemies can soak up a ton of punishment. With the exception of the sniper rifle or a shotgun at close range, Halo 4 is all about keeping a bead on the enemy and squeezing the trigger as quickly as your accuracy dictates. Just about all the weapons are satisfying to use, with each one having its strengths and weaknesses depending on the situation. The enemies are quite clever and navigate the environment as deftly as any human player, resulting in bouts of hide-and-seek that ensure Halo 4 keeps the series' core combat identity intact. Vehicles remain extremely user-friendly and an invaluable asset when the chips are down.
Well, someone's overcompensating.
2 tweaks that were initially introduced in Halo 3 have also carried over under new monikers: armor abilities and melee assassinations. The armor abilities in Halo 4 are much more useful and flexible, whether you're using a temporary shield to survive an onslaught, Promethean vision to spot enemies, or the thruster pack to slide past enemies to get the drop on them. Each is rewarding to use in its own way. There's even a hologram and hovering robot turret that can be utilized to distract enemies while you flank. The initial Halo subtitle was Combat Evolved, and while there's nothing anywhere near as brave in Halo 4, it strikes a nice balance between old and new. Once again, enemy AI is the glue that holds the gameplay together as their unpredictable behaviors do their best to make each skirmish memorable and stave off the repetition of killing every collection of bad guys before flipping a switch and moving on to the next. There are even enemy types that will revive their comrades, forcing you to prioritize their destruction to keep you from fighting an unending battle.
Afraid we're gonna have to give you an IOU on that welcome home party.
I don't know about you, but I usually like a little more intel with my intel.
Once upon a time, the Halo franchise represented the bleeding edge of console tech. And while Halo 3 was certainly a disappointment in this regard, 343 has managed to squeeze an extra bit of juice out of the aging Xbox 360 hardware for Halo 4. Massive ships hover overhead as battles rage on the surface, all without any significant hit to performance. Scores of enemies juke, jibe, dive, and return fire intelligently at every turn. But it's not just a technical marvel. The art is absolutely incredible, and a big part of the fun in playing the game is simply anticipating what eye-popping environment lies behind the next door or over the next vista. It simply never stops impressing. Rendering humans is still one of its weak points, but the absolutely incredible CG sequences more than make up for it.
You developed the Spartans to crush human rebellion, not to fight the Covenant.
We don't say this very often, but the Halo 4 soundtrack is 100% worth buying. It's that compelling, with the often abused main theme taking a backseat to emotionally charged compositions with swelling strings and sweeping vocals. When we first booted up the game, we delayed pressing start to listen to the title screen theme to its conclusion. Voice acting is top rate, with the Chief himself getting a special commendation for his ability to impart some emotion into what's supposed to be a heartless killing machine.
We need to find Halsey.
Chief, please.
She made you. She can fix you.
Halo 4's presentation shows that this old machine still has some magic left in its circuitry.
Seems like old times.
Ready to get back to work?
I thought you'd never ask.
You know where he's heading.
Same place we are.
There's no doubt that Halo 4 has been developed in a pressure cooker. With expectations sky high, 343 has delivered a game that manages to walk the line between old and new with just a few stumbles. The decision to alter the multiplayer while essentially leaving the campaign structure alone is a curious one that will resonate with fans more than the casual observer. It's a sure sign that, at some point, the studio decided to keep it safe for its first foray with the Chief. It's a massive, polished game that provides a lot of value, but it can also feel like hanging out with an old high school friend. It's comfortable, it's still fun, but eventually you realize that you're slowly drifting apart.
Your mistake is seeing Spartans as military hardware. My Spartans are humanity's next step. Our destiny as a species. Do not underestimate them. But most of all, do not underestimate him.
See this and other GT shows and game reviews on the GT Originals iOS app, available now on the App Store.